Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Um, as you can see, I'm not very well. I really still don't feel very well even from last week. I thought it was getting better, but it just doesn't seem to be leaving me alone. I think that's the joys of being an older man, is that when you get a cold or something like that, it turns to get worse. Apologies for that. Someone just came in just as I decided to start recording, which is usually what happens in them sort of circumstances, right? But listen, just to say, not feeling very well. I've been rough all over Christmas. Um, but of course, if ever you feel really bad, you can guarantee that Tottenham are going to make you even worse. Oh my God. I, I've, if I'm being honest, I really don't know where I'm at. I really don't know where I'm at because I totally understand every argument there is about it, and everybody makes such really good points and so on. And so it's really difficult to focus on what I really think without being impacted by the views of everybody else. And listen, I honestly don't want you to think what I think. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other what your view is. Um, you're entitled to it. You're entitled to your opinion, and I'm never going to tell you that you're thinking the wrong way. But it is really difficult to try to keep a balanced view of what you want to happen next when you're kind of involving yourself, and this is me I'm talking about, in several WhatsApp groups from different people, obviously social media with X, with Facebook groups, um, watching other people's YouTube videos, gaining other people's viewpoints and stuff like that. Because everybody makes really good points, and that's the real difficulty around football, right? Is that there isn't a right or wrong answer, really. That there isn't, because it's so personal to you how you feel about how things are going. The one thing for absolute certainty is us as fans all feel this pain, whether you're Ange in, Ange out, Levy out, Levy in, careful what you wish for, all those kind of different connotations. We're all hurting. We're all hurting. Football's very knee jerk. Success is very difficult to attain. There are different levels of success, what's considered success. We all think, whatever team we support, all think that our team's the best and our team deserves to be up there and so on. So it's really, really personal as to how you feel about it. But so I don't know. So what I do know is now is the time for the board to stand. And I said this on the previous video, right? If it's not going to be now, when is it ever going to be? Because they've tried everything else, right? They've tried 20 managers or whatever, all different ones, all different styles, all different ideas, all from different places. You've had the club legends like Hoddle, you've had the international managers like Santini. You've had the real people manager like Harry. You've had the young managers like AVB and Sherwood. We had a project manager in Pochettino. We've then had win now managers under Conte and Mourinho, and we're now back in a project manager scenario with someone who they believe is, or the idea was they believe plays exciting, expansive football and so on, right? But you can't do that. You can't just do that without any kind of plan. So there has to be a longer term vision, and you have to think about the good times and the bad times and how you're going to manage that. So I'm pausing because I'm trying to get it right in my own head about what I'm gonna say, because I'm not script. This is not scripted. This is not pre-planned. This is not thought out. This is just me, you know, churning out my feelings, I guess. So, oh, bloody knows. So, the amount of losses that we're going through at the moment, is that acceptable? No, of course not. Have we been? But I get trying to be logical about it. I have to look at it and go, okay, this is a results driven game. So it doesn't matter whether you win, whether you lose 6-3 or 1-0, you're still losing, right? It's still 3 points dropped. At the same time as that, you've got to then look at, well, the manner of defeat. Is the manner of the defeat, like, are you getting defeated because the players don't care, or they're not playing for the manager? And we've all seen that, right? We've all seen when the players are just not playing for the manager. I use Man United as a really good example of that, where you can literally see them down tools, and the manager is just standing there on his own, waving his dick about, hoping that someone's going to do what he asked them to do. And I kind of don't feel like that's the case. Maybe I'm being a bit deluded. I don't feel like Ange Postecoglou has lost the changing room. I think the players, generally speaking, are behind what he's trying to do. They all talk about wanting to play exciting, good football, where they have that freedom and so on, which he gives them. So I don't think it's a case of he's lost the dressing room. And we're not getting, like I said, we're not getting battered every week. We're not getting wave after wave after wave of attack that we are just crumbling under. Bearing in mind, and I'll use the issue of the injuries. This is an injury crisis like I've never known a football club go through. Now, is that Ange? Is that because he plays a type of football that demands so much backwards and forwards, and it breaks the players? Can you do that forever? Obviously not. Can you do that if you're able to rotate the players? Probably. So is that the issue, that because we just don't have enough players to be able to rotate the players, you're then getting into this situation where players are getting injured because they're playing too many games of football and they are not fit enough, strong enough to actually do what we're asking them to do. So then that comes back to Ange, right? You've got to think about that, Ange, surely. If it's not just the playing hard, but the training hard. If the training hard and the playing hard on a limited squad is too much for them, then you've got to think about that to help us through this period. I don't think a manager should change his football style, his football philosophy. But you've got to make the right adjustments at the right time to make sure that you get through what you need to get through. I've said this before. I'm a people manager. I've been a people manager for 30 odd years. And you don't just chuck a roll at someone and go sink or swim. You put in some guardrails, you put in some support, you give them someone who they can lean on, who they can work with. You have regular reviews with them and all this. I just don't know if that's transferable into a football scenario. But the other point on all of this is, where do we go from here? We are getting towards January. Is it, if we have a change now, who do we change to? And I'm seeing loads of people talking about Potter or, I can't remember the other bloke's name. The guy from Bournemouth, the guy from Brighton. And first thing I'd say is, like, if you're a Brighton manager, or the Fulham manager's another one, or the Bournemouth manager, are you jumping ship in a team that's doing well and going in the right direction to come over to Tottenham, the poison chalice, the club that managers come to die at? Are you jumping at the bit to do that? And I know people go, yeah, but think about the money and all the rest of the money they get. They're getting great money anyway. They're on great money anyway. So I don't think money is a great motivator when you're earning so much money. I'm sure it plays a part because people live to their means, right? But I still don't think that they're chomping a bit. They're looking at, the next challenge, the next big challenge. I'm loath to think that any manager that can come in is going to be able to do anything with the limited squad that we've got, with all the injuries that we've got anyway. So that says to me, we know we've got to invest in January. Like, absolutely desperately need to invest in January, because the players are just not coming back. They're just not coming back. Romero, Van der Ven, Ben Davies, we've heard again, he's out for even longer. Dragushin is now a doubt. You've got Jed Spence, who's now suspended. Like, it's just not getting any better. So you've got such a limited squad. Unless you start bringing some of these players through from the academy, who everyone keeps saying are really good. Well, if they're really good, why aren't we bringing them through? Well, probably because they ain't really that good. They ain't good enough. And look how that's worked out for Mikey Moore, who's still out injured. We still haven't seen. And he's just got a virus. What sort of virus has he got? Because, sorry, coughing. I ain't had a day sick, even though I feel like shit. So, I'm not an elite athlete, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. So I guess the question is, do I want Ange out? As it stands, I don't. Right? I really respect the man, as a human, as a person. I think he's a really good guy. I think he deserves a good opportunity, because I don't think any other manager has ever gone through this level of problem. And even he won't have gone through this. And I know we'll go, yeah, he's causing the injuries. I don't think he's causing the injuries to this extent. I think the fact that we've got injuries and a limited squad is adding to that. Well, I don't think it's necessarily his fault that the Van der Ven and Romero issue. His medical staff have got to be advising him, can you bring those players in? Can they play? That he's not going to just go, no, I want you in. This ain't the days of Clough where he just went, give him an ejection, out he comes, and all this sort of stuff. Or, what was it he said to one player? He's got concussion, or tell him he's Pele to get him back out there. That don't happen anymore. You've got to be really mindful of people's health. So, he would have had to have had the checks and everything for all of that. I'm sure he would have wanted them back desperately. But I'm just concerned that if he goes, where do we go from here? I don't think anybody wants Ryan Mason back managing as an interim. I don't think anybody wants that. And I mean, anyone would believe that he would be able to do anything different with this, like I say, very, very limited squad. But Ange does need to do something. He does need to do something to stop the rot very, very quickly. The fan base are turning for sure. The amount of comments that I'm having on my channel from people saying, he's got to go. He's not good enough. He's out of his depth. Imposter clueless, imposter coglu. I've seen loads and loads of all of that. And guys, you're entitled to that view, right? I'm not saying you're wrong. I've got no stomach for yet another turnaround after 18 months of trying to get behind something. I want to see some longevity. And I'm willing to accept bumps in the road, but these bumps in the road are humongous. It's not like a little dip in the road. We're talking about caverns of problems. And I just can't see what Ange is doing to try to smooth them out. And that's the problem. You can't just stick to the same mantra and expect a different result, all the while creating more and more problems as you go. So that's where I'm at. I don't want him to go, but I just don't see how he survives unless he does something different, unless he takes on board the problems that he's facing and looks for different solutions. And even if he did go, it still doesn't change the fact that Daniel Levy and the board at ENIC still control this club. And they are still going to do what they're going to do. Now, are they going to back this man once and for all or not? Because if they're not, he might as well go. You might as well move on to the next one and we'll just do the cycle again. If you are determined to try to take us forward, like he keeps saying, then now you've got to back the manager with everything you've got. With everything. You've got to go out there, and it's going to be difficult in January, I get it, but you've got to go out there and get the best players that are available in the positions that we really need support. We really need support in two centre-backs, a left-back, a centre midfield six, a striker, a playmaker, a left wing-back, a left-sided attacker, a right-sided attacker. I mean, you literally need another 11 players in this squad because there just isn't enough in there to maintain the competitions that we're in with that limited squad. You need so many more players, but so many more players of quality. You can bring in the youngsters, the Bergvals, the Greys, and to be fair, I think actually Gray is growing into a very good player who's versatile and putting himself out there to play the football. Jed Spence, I think, is now a key. It feels like a key member of the squad. Sarr, I think, so there's so many youngsters in there that are good. I mean, Dragushin has put a hell of a shift in over the last 13 games. I think he's played. So, he's putting in the effort, but you're playing so much inexperience together all the time. They're going to end up running on empty. So you've got to backfill. You've got to give them a chance. And Ange deserves that chance of being able to have the tools to do the job. Is he the long-term right man for it? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But I don't feel like he's had the opportunity to really show how good it can be because he just hasn't had the players to enable him to do it. Even last season, we had a load of players that have now been offloaded this season. We've offloaded the players, but we haven't been able to bring in the replacements. So he's lost a load of players from last season, gained very few this season, but we're now playing in more competitions. So he needs to have what he's expecting. And like I've said previously, this year I felt it was about that kind of January summer window was about moving players on, clearing out the decks, freeing up the money for us to be able to move forward. And I don't think it's as easy these days. When they talk about, just go out and get this one, just go and get that one, I don't think it's as easy as that. I think there's a lot more to it in terms of, not just the fees, but the wages, the structure of the payments, the agents' fees, all this kind of stuff. There's just so much in it now. It's not just a case of, we want this player, we'll pay you this much for him. The money is so big, you're talking about structured payments and all that sort of stuff. It's a lot to agree. And January is a difficult time because everybody's trying to move on players that they can't afford or are not good enough. And clubs are trying to buy people that are as cheap as they can. And it's never a good opportunity. But now you have to make a statement of intent, because if you don't, it just sends that message that Ange isn't going to get backed. So therefore, Ange is stuck in this rut that he's in now. And clearly, with what he's got now, he's playing and his philosophy is not good enough. So it's not going to work. In which case, you might as well get rid of him and move on to somebody else. Because all that'll do is that'll just buy us another 18 months of us being able to think that we're going in a direction, keep fooling us like you do. And that's what it will be. That's what it'll be. It's this ongoing, ever decreasing circle of the same shit, different day. And I just want to see something different. I want to see some real intent. And they talk about, Ange has had £350 million to spend. Yeah, but he probably needs £1 billion to spend. We are so far behind so many other clubs, so many of these so-called big clubs. We are so far behind. I mean, you could talk about Bournemouth doing really, really well. You could talk about Forest doing really, really well. And Brighton doing really well, who keep finding all these gems of players and all the rest of it. And again, for me, a lot of this time, it's luck of the bleeding draw. You just never know whether these players are going to be great. Maybe, the recruitment, again, the recruitment is just another issue, isn't it? Our recruitment has been so poor over the years. We've gone out and bought players like Lo Celso, like Ndombele, that are supposed to be like the next best thing. Clinton NG and the other Fernandez fella, and all these players that were all going to be really, really cool, and turned out not to be. You could just go on and on and on and on and on, but it just feels like this club is rotten to the core. It's like we are built on an ancient Red Indian burial ground, and we are just soaking up every negativity that there is and just getting nowhere really, really fast. So I don't know what to think. I understand everyone, the feeling is growing. I say I'm in a fair few WhatsApp groups, and there is a lot of negativity around Postecoglou. But there's always been negativity around Levy, but that seems to have quietened off a little bit. Like from what I'm reading, people will go Postecoglou, and they're ranting on about Postecoglou and all the rest of it, and then Levy and the board will get a glancing word, as opposed to the fact that it's them that have put us in this situation. It's them that have put us here. And the other thing I keep seeing is like, if you take it over the last year, out of how many games it is, it's relegation fodder and blah. But we're not taking it over the last 2 seasons, right? It's this season. It's this season where we're at. There's no point talking about what if it was a year, a 12-month season, this is where we'd be. That don't matter. That's not where we are. We are where we are now. We are where we are now. And Postecoglou's got to do something. What he needs to do, I don't know. How he fixes it, I don't know. But I do know that there isn't enough players in this squad that are strong enough and good enough to keep playing the 2 games a week that we're playing, and to play at the level that we need to not get beaten. I mean, if you look at bar the Liverpool result, which in my mind is a freak result, right? Every game we've lost, from what I can remember, has been by 1 goal. 1 goal. And it's our lack of ability to ensure that we go ahead and stay ahead that's hurt the most. You know, the Brighton game and the Leicester game and the Newcastle game, I think. All the other, like the Palace game, we were never ahead in that. We just couldn't score. So low block, play a low block, hit us on the break, frustrate us, and all of that. That's why you need someone who can unlock it and do something different, because all we do, we're out wide and then we cut inside. We don't load the box. We don't cross and that kind of stuff. We don't mix it up. It's very much the same thing. So they know, keep the players out wide, quiet. You've got nothing. You know, and that's what. So you've got to think about those. You know, you've got to think about that. Right? You can't break it down by playing tiki taka in front of all of the opposition. That's why you've got loads of possession. They're giving you possession because you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. But anyway, listen, I'm just fed up with it. I'm just fed up with it. I want the success for my club, as always, as everyone does. The abuse people are giving each other, I find madness. Like, I don't get I've literally seen people saying that they enjoy baiting people that are Levy lovers. I mean, I've yet to meet anyone who's a Levy lover. Just because you're not calling for the man's head on a pike, don't make you a Levy lover. Seems to for some people, but and they're actively baiting people to try to get into an argument. And I'm like, God, there's nothing better to do in your life than to fight and argue with someone on Twitter about someone you don't know, that you're going to try and force to sell a club that's making him millions and millions of pounds. You know, it's just, there has to be an element of reality in all of this. Daniel Levy is not going to sell this club. It makes too much money. There is too much opportunity around it, using the brand of Tottenham Hotspur to do what he's doing, to buy up the whole of, Tottenham area and turn it into whatever he wants it to be, Levy land or whatever. And it won't matter how many protests and balloons and stuff you let off. I really don't think that's going to make a difference. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. I think letting him know how people feel about him is the right thing to do. I just don't think it will have the impact that you want it to have. I don't think it'll ever forces anybody out. I'm yet to see it. But yeah, I'm sorry. Listen, I've been ranting on for half an hour, just kind of talking to myself and hoping that some of it resonates with you. Whether you think I'm right, whether you think I'm wrong, it's immaterial. I don't mind. Like I say, I'm entitled to my opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. And I think, as a footnote, just to kind of end it up with, I guess my point is, ultimately, I don't care whether Ange stays or goes now. I don't care. I'm just interested in where we go from here. I don't want him to go, but I don't care if he goes, if that makes sense. Because I just think to myself, well, if he goes, he goes. It's the same as when Mourinho went, or Conte went, or Pochettino went, or whatever. The club will still be there. I'll still support them. I'll still keep going because it's part of my life. It has been since I was 11 years old. So I'm never going to walk away from my club, because you can't. You're a fan, you're a supporter. You can't walk away from your club. It's in your blood. And that's why we care so passionately. That's why we argue so much. That's why we debate and all the rest of it. So, like I say, for me, I don't want him to go, but I'm at a point where I don't care whether he does or he doesn't, because what's going to be is going to be, and then we'll be in the same old roundabout, following on from it. So, yeah. The one thing for sure, one thing I am sure about is that this board is just killing this club. It's killing this club, and they really need to go. They really need to go and give it to someone who actually cares. The problem is, I'm not sure anybody out there really does care. I think anyone who buys it will be an investment company that will want to make money, or a country that's trying to clear its name for whatever it's doing wrong, and they won't care about the club, and they'll want to make money as well. They'll want money back on their investment. So I don't think it's ever going to be for the good of the club. I think the only people who really care for this football club, or any football club for that matter, are the fans. We're the only ones who are constant and care. We hand it down to our children, generation after generation. And it's us that made the club. It's us that support the club, that build the club, for all these other people to steal the money and exploit it. But that's modern day football. That's modern day society, I guess. I guess that's just what society does these days. But yeah, so in terms of the Forest game, disappointing, obviously. Another loss. Here we go again. Another loss by 1 goal. But Ange needs to think fast. What's he going to do? Do I think he's safe? I don't know. Wolves up next, who have just won. Newcastle after that, who have just won. It's just never ending. And it's the 27th of December. So still a few days to go before we can even start getting any players in, even if they're right. They may already be making the deals, and it may get off to a flying start. And Daniel Levy and the board may be having some really good, clever tricks up their sleeve, and they're going to spend an absolute fortune in bringing some of the best players from around the world. And by February, we'll be flying. Nah, probably not. Anyway, listen, I'm sorry. I've rambled on 30 odd minutes, and I've probably made absolutely no sense whatsoever. You've got no idea what I'm talking about, and you've got no idea where I'm at or whatever. So apologies for that. If you've got this far into this video, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope that you had a nice Christmas and you weren't ill like I was. And I hope that if I don't speak to you before, that you have a great New Year. Don't get too drunk on New Year's Eve for you. Those of you that do drink, don't eat too much. Don't celebrate too much. Don't get in too much trouble. But listen, we're always going to be there, aren't we? Spurs is our club for life. So we'll keep talking. We'll keep going on about it, and we'll see where we end up. But thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you got to the 33.57 or 34 minutes. Let me know if you got to 34 minutes. I'll be surprised if you're still in. But anyway, to prove that you were, I'm going to say a key word that you've got to tell me, right, to prove that you went to the full video. And you can't just skip right to the end just to get the word. Okay? But the word is tic-tac, up the Spurs.